Y'all are very punctual.
Wow.
Important, you know.
This is great. So we are going to start momentarily. Welcome, everybody. We have upwards of 75 to 80 people joining us. So rather than going around and everybody introduce, can you, first of all, everybody can hear me? Yes? Just
Yes.
Okay. Rather than have people go around and introduce yourselves, probably the easiest way is to do that in the chat box. And then as people come on, I'll try to remember to remind people to do that. So if you could do that so that we know who's here, where you're from, you know, the school you're from, and then the state or country that you're from.
But no, but
Is that fixed? This is the inside out meeting.
Oh, okay.
I love Carl's background.
I fixed this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it's not perfect because it didn't break
It'd
perfectly.
be nice if it was strong.
Well, Duco is what they let it dry that. Yeah, sorry to bother you.
No, you're not bothering me. They just started.
All right. So I think that what we'll do is
Only if I sit over here.
we'll get started. I'd ask that everybody, can we all mute our microphones? And so a reminder for people who just came on, please introduce yourself in the chat box, who you are, where you're from, etc. Along the way, if there are questions, we're going to have folks from various think tanks, you know, share a little bit, and there may be questions that occur to people. So we're thinking that the most efficient way to do this is for people to put questions in the chat box, which Dave is going to be monitoring. And after a couple of people share about a project from their think tank, then we'll stop for a moment and have some questions, and then we'll continue with some other think tank, you know, projects. Stop for a moment, more questions, that sort of thing. All right. And Tyrone is going to be facilitating. So Tyrone, take it away.
hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's so great to see everybody. You know, this is one of the, unfortunately, the fringe benefits of the pandemic. It's so great to see everybody. Unfortunately, Lori took my whole presentation. She was not supposed to do that, but I will carry forth. But anyhow, so real quick, we got an hour and a half. And so what I like to do is have the think tank coordinators introduce themselves, like where, what, college, university they from, how long their think tank has been together, and talk about specifically one project that you've been working on that you're really excited about, or any project you worked on over the years. I see that we have a number of people here. I'd like to, Norm, are you in the house, Norm? Norm?
I'm here, Tyrone.
You gonna lead us off, but brother, I'll let that little
In prayer? Am I leading us off in prayer?
Sure.
All right, my name is Norman Conti. I'm here in Pittsburgh at Duquesne University. I'm repping the Elsinore Bennu think tank for restorative justice that began at the now defunct SCI Pittsburgh and exists everywhere now. We meet weekly online. We used to meet weekly in person. We're all over the place. Published a book. We have a program with police officers. And in our time of this, whatever this is, we've picked 3 senior high-rise facilities where some of our formerly incarcerated men live, and we're providing food for them, and we're writing a lot, and that's what we're up to. And I've got 3 kids and I'm doing homeschool, but today's not my day for that, thank God.
Oh, that's great. Oh, who'd like to go next? Renee, are you here, Renee? Renee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What about Kim in Chicago?
Kim?
All right, Kim is not here yet either. Okay, what
She's
about?
here.
Okay.
she's there.
Okay, Kim. Did you hear what
Hear
you were
me?
supposed to do, Kim?
Pardon?
Did you
hear
hear
me?
what you were supposed to do? Introduce yourself, introduce your think tank, and a
Okay.
project that you've been working on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So 6 or 7 years, we've been doing think tanks. I've gone through DePaul University and Stateville Correctional in the state of Illinois. I've gone from having one think tank to having 4 think tanks all at the same time. And so we've met every Thursday for all those years. So there's quite a few projects. I don't know which one to choose, so many projects.
Who's one that you're most excited about?
I don't know. One of the last ones that we were doing is a kind of Truth and Reconciliation Commission kind of workshop. And reading Country of My Skull, watching films like In My Country, and discussing the so-called success of the TRC and looking at cases here in the United States and whether or not it could apply to particularly African Americans and the prison population, whether or not we could have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission here. So that's just one. There's just so many.
Well, you'll be able to, as we get into the discussion, you can always interject and, tell us about some of the other, because you got 4 think tanks, so I'm quite sure.
I did.
So you
No
got,
longer 4. Yeah.
all right.
I was thinking too about talking about the things that I wish I hadn't done or the things that went badly. I think would be also good to talk about.
Okay, so we have time for that. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that, okay? Who like to, I forgot to mention that we're trying to give, because we have so many think tank coordinators online, we might give everybody like anywhere from 3 to 4 minutes so we can get everybody in. I'd like to know who like to go next. Becca, are you there?
How about
Tyrone?
Christina?
I'll go since I'm also at Stateville.
Oh, Christina.
Yeah, hey.
Hey.
Chris Rivers, I'm also at Stateville with Kim. My think tank's a lot newer. It started in fall of 2016, and it's an offshoot of the class I teach on law, politics, and mass incarceration. And so the original focus was to try to extend the final paper projects into some sort of a proposal or bill to hand off to legislators and to do things around issues that affect people who are incarcerated or their families or their communities. And so a lot of the classes I taught there in 2016 and 2018, we ended up focusing on voting rights because that's how I close out the class. And so the 3 main projects they've been working on are bills for parole reform. Illinois doesn't really have parole, prosecutorial accountability. And then we ended up writing a bill that calls for workshops to provide voter education and awareness as part of the standard exit process workshops that everybody has to go through that are peer taught by incarcerated people. And it passed. So we wrote a law. That's the good news. The bad news is there's no one to implement it. So those of us on the outside have been working with a bunch of different organizations and the Department of Corrections to implement it. It was just getting off to a start in January. And of course now really nothing is happening with it because there's bigger fish to fry. But we're very happy about it. We're hoping other states will pass similar legislation. And we're all just kind of waiting to get back to being able to roll this thing out so that people get these workshops in a small curriculum packet on voter education as they exit.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Who would like to go next?
Oregon could go.
Okay, Oregon.
Hey, this is Katie. I bring regrets from Shaul Cohen, who's the director out here, but I'm the program coordinator for the U of O's prison education program, and our think tank's been going since 2010. And we've been busy. We've done a lot of different projects over the years, but some of the really exciting stuff recently is that we've really expanded both our class offerings and our not-for-credit programs. So this year we would have had 9 classes if in 2 different prisons if it hadn't been for the situation.
Right.
But then we're also doing kind of driven by the think tank and the conversations we've had around broader interests and trying to reach out to more people than can take the classes. We've done faculty lectures, workshops, academic workshops, especially writing workshops, book discussions, and then an art show most recently, and that those have been really well received and busy. And then Shaul would definitely also want me to brag on the fact that we, as a think tank, did an academic chapter in a peer-reviewed book together.
Wow.
So we did a joint writing project on sort of experiences of the cell. It's a whole book that's focused on cell and theories about that. So yeah, so busy and really happy to be here. It's been a long time
Oh,
since
thank you,
I've
Katie.
connected.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So glad, and we're so glad to have you.
Great to see you, Katie.
I want to call on Kevin from Arizona. Are you there, Kevin?
Yes. Hi, Lori. Hi, Tyrone. Hi, David. Thank you all
Hey,
for
Kev.
stepping up. This is awesome. I'm Kevin Wright from Arizona State University, representing the Arizona Transformation Project. Also on the call are Cody Tellup, Danielle Heverkate, and Stephanie Morse from our think tank. We're a smaller think tank. There's 4 of us on the outside and 5 of us on the inside. We started in 2016 in Arizona. We have a website that I'll put in the chat room. It's aztransform.org. So AZ like Arizona, transform.org. And we've started to put some blog posts up from the guys on the inside and our outside members as well. So we're very excited about that. The one project I wanted to share, we've been able to do some participatory action research with our group. We started this in 2017 and working with the Arizona Governor's Office, and we actually had our 5 inside members participate in all stages of the research project. And so they actually helped design a survey instrument on recidivism reduction. They went through institutional review board training. They went through qualitative interviewing training, and then they carried out over 400 interviews of their fellow incarcerated men on the yard. We put that into a report for the governor's office and made some recommendations that led in part to some changes like the removal of GED testing fees. Our ASU folks wrote an article about it and co-edited a special issue of Corrections Policy, Practice, and Research on participatory action research. And we also facilitated our inside students to write an article of their own for the Journal of Prisoners on Prison. And so we're very excited to have them as published authors. We're now doing our second participatory action research project. It's something we're really excited about. It's about enhancing the prison environment. And we did the same process. We all worked together to identify some really interesting questions about how people who are incarcerated find meaning, how they can positively contribute to others. And we actually were able to get in the surveys right before they stopped allowing volunteers into the prisons in Arizona. And so we actually, on a rush printing job, got 450 surveys in, met with our guys, and as far as we know, they are interviewing right now, and that the yard is excited. We love the presence that we've had on the yard, and guys are really excited to have their voices heard as part of this project. And again, it's better than the traditional research approach of sending in academics to come in when we have our guys on the inside participating. So we're really excited, and again, love to be here today. And so thank you all for setting this up.
Thank you, Kev. That is so exciting to hear that you have an impact to the point where you got the power, the head honchos involved. You know, let them know what you're doing at least, right? Okay. Who else like to go next? Sarah.
I can go. I'm Michigan, Becca Pickus.
Okay, Becca, right?
Yeah, got my mic working this time. Thanks, Tyrone.
Great. So Paul couldn't make it.
Correct. Yeah, Paul has another engagement right now, but I started co-coordinating the Michigan Theory Group, which is the think tank in Michigan, with Paul Draus almost 2 years ago, so summer 2018. And some of the projects we've been working on recently are in the past couple of years, we've been trying to host a large scale conference each year. Lori flew out and attended our big conference last year. So we had started intensive planning for this year's big conference, which was going to focus on intersections between trauma-informed work, restorative justice, arts practice, and sort of had a family reunification theme. There's been a big push towards family reunification and parenting related programming in the theory group recently. Unfortunately, that planning is now more or less on hold.
Yeah.
I guess the other exciting thing for us, we have 12 members. We've been around for about 12 years, and we're hoping very much that our 12 members become 11 members soon. One of our guys is got a Miller resentencing for juvenile life, where he's been down 33 years. His ERD is now 3 years ago. We're just waiting for his public hearing to be able to happen. But it got scheduled via video conference for June, and we just can't wait for him to come home.
Nice.
Is that Steve?
That's Jamal.
Jamal. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had about 5, 6 people talk about their think tank. So we want to have a little discussion, let people ask questions or based on what they've heard. Dave, are you there? Or people just want to ask questions?
Why don't individual participants just unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question?
So this is Sasha. I started a think tank based off of my first Inside Out class at Augusta Correctional Center this past fall. And I was really intrigued by, I think it was Kevin's discussion about participatory action research. I know somebody asked a question about what that is. I know we've read a little bit about it before. And then getting guys on the inside to contribute to the Journal of Prisoners on Prisons. I've never heard about that. And I was wondering, what steps did you have to take to get them to get the training they needed to research the topic they were doing? And it sounds like a great opportunity in so many different ways. And I was just wondering how would one get the ball rolling on something like that?
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to throw it to Cody Telep and put him on the spot because he was our leader in the IRB and methods training side of it, and I want to give him an opportunity to speak too. And so Cody, if you're there and you want to jump in on that, that'd be appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin, and thanks everybody. Good to see everyone. Yeah, so we were fortunate in that our IRB at ASU was really helpful in this process. So I guess I can't guarantee how this would work at other universities, but they really worked closely with us to make sure that we were able to print out materials that they might have, if they were a student researcher, done online through the city program. We also went through a lot of back and forth to make sure that they felt comfortable that our think tank members were voluntarily doing this and we weren't pressuring them to do research, and that they were going to get something out of it too, which was of course really important to us. And then we spent a lot of time, talking about interviewing and talking about how you react if someone gives a response that you don't think is correct, not shouting down people that like, that's a dumb answer, right? So we spent a lot of time on training, kind of how to do interviews and how to, good protocols for that. And then spent a lot of time with making sure that when they completed the survey, that the data was secure, that it was getting to us quickly, so there weren't concerns that correctional staff were looking at their responses or anything like that. And so I'd say it took a lot of time, and it was something that we thought a lot about the protocols, but we appreciated that the university was really flexible with us on that. And we're happy to share, our IRB materials or any of the stuff we put together for that with anyone interested.
Just a follow-up question. I was just wondering, did the questions themselves come out of a group setting, and like, did you all come up with a research project together as a group, or is it sort of from the outside in?
I don't know if Kevin, if you want to speak to that. I'd say in the first project, there was a interest from the governor's office in getting information from the inside about recidivism, about needs upon reentry. And I think Kevin came up with that in conjunction with folks there about that we could basically do this in an interesting way and get information that would probably be richer and more accurate and faster than if we had done it with just outside researchers coming in. So there were state agencies that had certain things they were interested in and I would say that some of it was questions that were generated fully by our inside members, and some was, okay, here's what Department of Housing wants to know. How can we write a question that guys on the inside are actually going to be able to answer and want to answer, that isn't in some state bureaucrat legalese that's going to confuse everyone. So there were definitely priorities from those agencies, but we tried to create a survey that was going to be useful and usable.
Great.
Thanks. Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I do. This is for Cody or Cody or Kevin. How did you all work with the prison administration on this? Were they cool with it? Was there pushback? How did that work?
As Cody mentioned, it started in the governor's office. They reached out to us at ASU and asked if we would do research on recidivism. And I said, sure, if we can do it in a particular way. So we were at the highest levels to start from this, and the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation and Reentry, who's a good partner of ours anyway, was already at that table. And so with governor support over a state agency, it went pretty quickly to get all the approvals and things signed. But again, I can't emphasize how great our partners have been. And I know this is the case for just about every think tank on here, that you work closely alongside people on the inside to be able to do the work that you do. And so we were very fortunate to already have it in place where we have a lot of transparency and a lot of good communication with our partners. And it's interesting. Anytime there's something, this is more so for the inside out classes, but anytime there's something that we're worried about is going to get us shut down or cause trouble, it actually ends up being a good thing, because it's an opportunity to be transparent about things and to show that we're serious and that we understand the risks that allowing us on the inside. And so we've worked very hard to have that relationship with.
Great. In interest of time, we got to be cognizant of how much time we are taking on one or two questions. So, does anybody else have a question they want to ask to any of the think tank coordinators that spoke so far?
I had a quick question for those of you who were co-publishing with your think tank. How did you handle the names? Did you use last names of the people in the think tank for publication?
For ours, we did first name only, or first name and last initial. And some people also chose to be anonymous, and so they chose a different name that they wanted to do. And we were, our writing actually changed quite a bit. Our original chapter had quite a bit about sort of the commerce that happens in cells and the kind of artwork and creation, and also black market, essentially kind of informal economy. And then one of our think tank members got in trouble for having being present with a cell phone situation. And so we actually ended up having to take that out, just in interest of making sure that none of our co-authors got in more trouble. So that was frustrating, because it was something that actually our inside participants were particularly interested in talking about. And it was something that we felt like we could really contribute. But then we had to, step that back just to make sure everyone was safe. So yeah, and we had a lot of back and forth about names also, but decided that, again, to just ensure everyone's safety and the semi-anonymity, that's what we did.
We had full names on ours. It's a discussion we had with our guys, and that was their strong preference. It was a quick discussion.
Mm-hmm.
We go with, we don't really do research in our group. We do more just general writing stuff and some proposals. We go with full names, but we go under a collective authorship of our think tank, just like the Light Group did with their piece.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Norm, so your think tank is not housed in a prison right now, right, Norm?
No, I mean, I'd say that all our original members are still members, and maybe we're even picking up new members who are contributing in whatever way they can contribute. But we hold generally our weekly meetings on campus at Duquesne. We have guys who have done almost 50 years and are out now in that group. And, we have cops, we have everybody. And, but we also bounce in and out of SCI Fayette and our friends at other up north and wherever else. I still consider these people contributors, and they even help on some of the writings we're doing.
Great.
Tyrone, why don't we pick up on some more folks?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Any other think tank coordinator that hasn't spoken yet want to talk a little bit about their particular think tank? Then remember to introduce yourself, your name, and what university you're attached to, and a project that you've excited about, you've been working on.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey, from Australia.
Yes, from Australia. So this is Marietta. I run 3 think tanks. It would have been 4 if it wasn't for what's been happening over the last few months. So very, very excited. 5 years. Every week we meet at 3 different facilities. So they're all on the inside. I'm very keen to hear about think tanks on the outside and how I can work on better supporting people after release. So I'm very keen to hear from Norm, and if you can talk about that a little bit more, because I've got that need very much so. Lots of projects that we have been doing together with the administration of each of the prisons. I think the project I'm most excited about, there's actually 2 that I want to talk about very briefly. The first one is incentives-based project, and this is at one of the private prison facilities, and it is actually based on changing the ideology that prison works, so that instead of kind of focusing on the negative behaviors and punishing those negative behaviors that people on the inside engage in, it's actually rewarding positive behaviors.
Right.
So that's been really, really exciting. It has been a work that's taken us probably for 4 to 5 months back and forwards with the prison administration, but it's been really rewarding. The guys on the inside are so excited about that. And the second project that I want to just quickly mention is research that I have undertaken with a number of my colleagues who are not connected to Inside Out, and that is evaluation of kind of what happens after Inside Out. So where people are up to, sorry, after the think tank, where are people off to after the think tanks have finished, both the inside students and the outside students. So that work is now being kind of I suppose, analyzed, but so there will be some really exciting research coming out of that. So both past students who've done Inside Out and Think Tank, as well as the insiders who have been now released. So that's really, really exciting. So I love this space. Thank you so much for organizing it, and let's organize it frequently because we can learn so much from each other.
Yes,
so
yes.
5 a.m. by the way here, so it's certainly not afternoon.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you so much for that. I know this is our first international think tank meeting. Now that we have this available to us, we want to do it more often. I'm quite sure there are a number of people that are on the site with us today who don't have think tanks, but who may be interested in starting a think tank. So, and so we, at some later date, we can schedule a Zoom meeting where we can talk about, how you got your think tank started, what was, what took place. And like Kim said, like she want to talk about what she shouldn't have done, so all that is really going to be some rich discussion for us in the future time. All right. Thank you so much. Is Katie from England here?
Hello.
Or Hannah?
Yes, I'm not sure whether Hannah's here. She may be here.
Okay.
I don't know Caroline Chatwin from the UK here. I could be the only UK Inside Out person, but this is fantastic. It's so good to see everybody. I'm really, it's 8 o'clock at night. Is it 8 o'clock? What time we know? I'm drinking tea. This is fantastic.
Okay, tell you what I'm drinking.
So thanks for organising this session. So yeah, I'm from the UK. I've met some of you before. It's great to see Joe and Gabby in the room, who I met last year in Michigan. And Becca, fantastic to see you. I had a great time in Michigan this time last year. We were in Macomb prison. So in the UK, we've been working in 3 prisons in the north of England since 2015. One of them is a high security prison, Frankland, where we've been running a monthly think tank there now.
Katie, you got to speak. Katie, excuse me. You got to speak up a little more.
not hear me?
I can hear you, but it's not as loud as everybody else. So just make sure that everybody hear you. I'd like for you to speak up a little more.
Okay, okay. So the think tank at the high security prison in Franklin has been running for the last 5 years. We have a core group of about 12 men now that have been very involved. They've met you, Tyrone, Lori has been over, and they've been doing a range of projects and workshops over the past 5 years. They've recently been starting to do some kind of participatory action research in the area of drugs and spice, NPS. It's early days, but there's support there from the prison for us to do a piece of collaborative research in that area. So it's really interesting to hear colleagues who have been doing some of that work already with their think tanks. The other prison that we have been working in for the past 4 years now, nearly 5 years, is one of the women's prisons in the UK, HMP Low Newton Prison. And we meet monthly with a group of women. They're much more of a transient population in that particular prison, not as stable, so we've had more movement. But we have started in the last year to work much more with women who have been released on the outside. So Marietta, talking about your points before, we are starting to learn some ways of working and bringing our inside alumni now to work with our think tank. So that's been really exciting and interesting. So in terms of women's think tank, they've been much more active, much more involved in getting projects going. They seem to be much more busier getting work done. So we've done projects around sexual violence in the women's estate, and that's been a funded project. We've been doing really interesting work around issues on housing and homelessness that women experience, and that's where we're starting to develop a participatory action project with the women. And we have done a series of informal training around participatory action research methods with this group of women. And there's been some challenges there in terms of the ownership of that project and doing co-produced work. Michelle Fines, I'm not sure whether she's been mentioned so far, but I've drawn some of her work and her experience of doing research in women's prisons. I know she's an American scholar whose work you may be familiar with in this area. One of our active think tank members in the women's prison has been a trans prisoner. So he just identifies as male, and he's been really incredible in his activist work now around really pushing trans rights, politics and rights in prisons. So now he's been released, and we're working closely with him to really help facilitate his voice and engagement with various organisations on the outside.
Nice.
And he's doing brilliant. He's doing great. So that's kind of a summary of where we are with our think tanks. It's great, but it's fantastic. It's important work. But since lockdown, so since the middle of March in the UK, we've been unable to go back into the prisons. We had to curtail some of our inside-out programs that were almost completed, but we had to just leave and finish those classes without them being completed. It's been difficult to continue our relationship with our think tank with Franklin, and this is on the back of, really, you may recall quite a high-profile terrorist attack that took place on London Bridge just before Christmas. That had quite a big impact on lots of us that do this kind of work in the UK. And we had a backlash against universities going in to do this kind of work. We were just starting to rebuild our connections with our prisons, as were colleagues in other parts of the UK, when COVID-19 came to our door. So we're now again out of the prisons and finding it very hard to get in. One of the things that I want to speak to colleagues about today.
Quickly, Kate.
Sorry, yeah, I will, really quickly, is how we can continue to work with our think tanks when we can't have access to them. And about maybe doing reading lists and reading packs and what we can send in and how we can engage with our think tank members when we can't physically get in there or contact them directly. But thanks for your time, everybody. I know I went on a little bit, but it's been great to see you all.
It was great to see you too, Kate. Great to see you again, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay, any other think tank coordinators on the line that can chime in about their particular think tank?
Hey, Tyrone, it's Jerry.
Hey, Jerry. Oh, wow. Where you at, Jerry, in Hawaii?
I'm on my porch.
Oh.
I'm one of the blessed people during this crazy pandemic that has a beautiful yard and a full gym in their garage. So I'm a lucky one.
Nice.
It's great to see everyone. My name's Jerry Kirby. I'm a coordinator for West Virginia. And I am attached to Fairmont State University, but we have multiple individuals on the call here that are also attached to West Virginia University. So as far as I go, Delia Trickett, who's also on this call, we just recently have been working on the first think tank in a West Virginia state facility. But unfortunately that got kind of cut in half at this moment. And we've actually not been able to have any contact whatsoever. But I have no doubt that we'll be able to get right back into that. But I definitely want to talk about how our think tanks here in West Virginia started, and that's with the federal system. A lot of people may know or may not know the federal system went through some changes, so we've been shut out now for approximately a year. But with that, I'm very proud to say that West Virginia actually has had 3 different think tanks that have done international trainings. The probably, to me, the mothership of think tanks is at the Hazleton Federal Penitentiary, and that is the Circle for Hope group. They're really the ones who, everything kind of stemmed from. Great group of guys. I have no doubt whenever we're able to get back in there that any of them that are still around, hopefully they're home, but we can definitely get things started right back up. We also have had a group in the FCI called the Council, and I'll let Delia speak to that group. And also in the Women's Facility, United Circle for Hope. Gosh, these groups have done some amazing things. I think probably the penitentiary, years and years, it took about 3 years, and Delia can maybe say something about it real quick, that they actually started, it's called the Bounce Back Unit. It was the first reentry unit in a federal penitentiary, and it has since been adopted in other federal penitentiaries. It's a 3-year-long program, and they created it from scratch, and it was just a beautiful, and worked it. So they, we were able to get the individuals to recognize that, you want to talk about reentry, then you got to talk to the very individuals who are doing it or not doing it, for that matter. Most of the group actually was doing life. So, they were just, it's more about handing back. The women's facility, they did food drives and walks for domestic violence that the actual staff and the incarcerated individuals joined in together to do, and created programs and so many other things. I don't want to take up all these couple minutes. I want to ask Delia, and I know Katie Ryan's on here also, if either one of them have something they would definitely like to add.
Delia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Delia.
Hey, Delia.
Yeah, actually, so I worked with Jerry at the USP, and then Katie and I worked together at the FCI. So we work with the council, and Katie can also then take the back end of her work through another project that she's also doing. But with the council, we also did workshops. We did the reentry simulation, in which we worked with the district attorney at the time. And then we also had where the men get back to their own community, they would be part of the admission and orientation process. So they would be able to have their own kind of minutes with the men that are coming into the facility, and they would talk to them about all the programs that are available and things like that. So a lot of what we were doing at the FCI was a lot of community work within the facility.
Nice.
Hi, this is Sarah Allred from Rome, Georgia. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Sarah, how you doing?
Wonderful. Good to
Great,
see everyone. Well, the update from our think tank is probably different from any update from all the others. Effectively, we don't meet anymore for a variety of reasons. A combination of change in preferences in our programming from administrators and some natural attrition, and we were about to get things started back up again until this pandemic thing kicked in. So we're dead until all those till the lifts resume. But I just wanted to say a couple of things about a project that some of you are familiar with that I've been working on for about 2.5 years now, which was a project that was a participatory hybrid internal external evaluation of a select group of the think tanks, just asking some straightforward questions. Had the joy of visiting some of your groups for that particular project. We've encountered, because of communication and logistical issues, some significant stops and starts with the analysis of it. But I'm at the point now where I'm about to finish up that draft of that and hopefully reach out to a group or two that did not participate, get some feedback on it before we share our kind of summary information on what's going on with at least the 8 or 9 groups that we had a chance to meet with, and ask them about what they do and how they view their mission and how they view their work in a general sense and what it means to them.
Nice. Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. And that's going to be a fine piece of work when it's finally completed.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really interested in the results of that for the think tanks.
Absolutely.
One more person. Any other think tank coordinators on the line that want to talk about their particular thing? Brenda Cheney, are you there? From Ohio.
Nope. How about Renee?
Renee Herberly. Well, if no one else is there, let's go to questions. Anybody out there?
Can I tell you a little bit about what's going on in Alabama?
Oh, yes.
Hey.
Katie, Katie.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. So we have a think tank that's been running for about 3 years. We're pretty new. We meet monthly, and we meet in the northwest corner of Alabama at a men's facility. And we just started a PAR-based project too that's been put on hold because of COVID, but it's based on restorative justice. And the idea was that the men wanted to implement what we've been reading about, and they wanted to be the architects of their own program. So we're trying to use research as the kind of foundation for whatever program we build there. And we actually just got IRB approval to run peer-to-peer surveys, focus groups, and interviews. And we were doing trainings and coming up with questions collaboratively when this all hit. We also wrote a couple of grants to get trainers to come in and do restorative justice training so that they could also facilitate peace circles. So we have the money together. We just need to be able to get in again. So we were revving up just as all this hit, but I was really interested in Kevin's discussion of IRB approval. They don't have internet at the facility that we work at, so we had to adapt our training so that we brought in basically, we're bringing in paper copies, and we're teaching the training in an adapted version. So that's also an option too for those of you who want to put your think tank through IRB training but don't have internet access at your facility.
Thank you so much, Ms. Owens. Thank you so much. So let's get into a discussion. Anybody have any questions they want to ask the think tank coordinator you heard from thus far? Any questions? Wow, y'all must have did a fantastic job. Nobody had questions.
I have a question.
But one of the things I want to say is that I think this is really fabulous that we get be able to see everyone. You know, one of my responsibilities as the coordinator of think tanks is to network all the think tanks, and I've been struggling with that over the last couple of years. And we was talking about using websites, things like this, but I mean, this is perfect for us to get together, have discussions, and really outline the work that all of you have been doing, which is very, very exciting for us. And I think people really need to know what's going on, the work that all of you are doing. And so we definitely like to do this in the future with, bringing on people who are interested in starting a think tank, or maybe just have the think tank coordinators talk to each other. I think one of the things we want to do with this session is to do some collaborative work with think tanks around the world. And so this is a great vehicle for that. Anybody got any?
Somebody had a question, yeah.
Go ahead.
Who was that?
That was me, Alexandra. Hi, Alexandra from Southern California. One of the things that I'm wondering is, in hearing all of your programs described, seems like everybody is kind of on hiatus right now because of the pandemic. But I'm wondering if any of your facilities have talked about the possibility of online learning via video conferencing for either think tank and research work or for full inside out courses. Our facilities have kind of floated the idea. They haven't given us many details about how they see this working, but I was just wondering if that was a conversation that any of you all were having with your facilities, or if that was something that had been brought up at all.
This is Chris here from.
Could someone repeat that question? I didn't quite get it.
I was just wondering, somebody asked to repeat the question. I was just wondering if any of your facilities had floated the idea of online video conferencing type of learning for the fall for either think tanks or for full inside out courses.
Hey, this is Renee. I think I finally figured out how to unmute. Because I'm on my phone for the first time in a Zoom meeting. So I pressed *6 and here I am.
Okay, thanks. So hold on for 1 minute, Renee, while we finish this conversation, okay? And I'll come back to you.
Yeah, just 1 second. Actually, I mostly just have a question. We are on hiatus. Our prison is a level 4 high security, just below Supermax. And so we are on hiatus since March 10th. And we did just a couple of things in response to the question you just asked. We did some video feeds for my Inside Out class, and it was really incredibly clunky and awkward, but we did it. We had about 5 students from the inside come, and some of the outside students could call in. Then they had to suspend that because they went on full lockdown. And the other question I had for everybody was if we could mention or talk about the security level of our prisons and talk about the different possibilities that exist, because we're the only program in Ohio in a level 4 facility, I think. And it's just kind of an intense atmosphere, both with the conditions that men have to work in inside and the ways in which we have a very cooperative staff, but it's just a very different kind of environment. So I'm curious as to the impact of security levels on think tank work. That's it. We've been going about our regular business, which I've been communicating about fairly regularly until the lockdown. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Renee.
So this is Chris. I wanted to respond to Alexandra's question briefly. There's several of us, and I had made a note of this in the chat, that we have a coalition, the Illinois Coalition of Higher Ed and Prisons, and we had started to work with the Department of Corrections and legislators to ease up a lot of communication restrictions. And then also we had to stave off a book ban that happened in one of the facilities, which was successful. So as that door started to open, we had started to question and ask if that would be a possibility. We had a really nice convening with DOC and legislators, and Kim can talk about that as well. And so they seemed open, and our director now is the former director of Ohio's DOC. So, he brought in a lot of new people, has cleared out some of the funky air. And so they seemed, let's just say they weren't hostile to it. We had a recent conversation with some of his staff right after the state declared a lockdown to ask, what is the possibility of us converting to some online or hybrid, or even being able to access our students through their tablets, because they're now getting tablets and access to the internet. We also asked about the video hookup, because we now know they can do it. The short answer was, we're open to it. We think it would be great. Physically, Stateville, where we are, and a lot of the other prisons there don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the routers, they don't have any of the hardware to be able to do that. And it probably also means that they don't have the money to do it. So it's this interesting situation where they seem open to it. This was a month ago where we had this conversation. But the hesitation has more to do with just the physics of it, or the equipment, as opposed to the principle. We don't know what they would say about that now, but we are certainly going to come back to them on this issue in the next couple months or so. So we were surprised that they seemed open to it, but right now there's just no equipment. And to answer the other question, Stateville is considered a max.
This is Michael Braun. I see Alexandra that you're up at Santa Barbara. I'm down at San Diego State, and I run the jail program over here in Imperial County. And I started to approach this issue because the students have access to tablets for like visitation and things like that. So I started to approach it by like seeing if we could pipe into there for Zoom. Because the issue here isn't really reluctance from the institution. It's that we can't do enough internal movement to get everybody in front of a device. And so I was like, well, how do we get devices into their hands? So we started looking at like the day room TVs. That was a possibility. We're still talking about that. And I started to look at those tablets. Right now, I'm actually approaching it from trying to tap into the CARES money that's been dispersed to our facilities, because I think I can get a proposal together for a technology cart where students would be able to check out like laptops and USB sticks and then go from there. So that's how I'm trying to approach the technology gap that our students have inside.
Nice.
I have a question as well. It's a little bit different than that. This is Shoshana from Southern California. I teach at Cal Lutheran University. So my question was, has anyone started think tanks in a jail setting? And someone talked about outside think tanks. And as we're hearing, I'm thinking perhaps the guys on the outside that were released, from the incarcerated, they could potentially help with the outside think tank. But would the outside think tanks, they go inside the jail, or they do maybe workshops on the outside in the community? So I'm just trying to really figure out how to do a think tank in a jail setting. And right now, currently, we do workshops. I bring other faculty in. We do 4 or 5 other disciplines from other faculties will come and do workshops, writing or business or interview. But those are just individual workshops that kind of expand to other populations. But I was hoping to be able to do something like a think tank, since we're putting the effort in. It'd be nice to the guys that were in that are now out. They're open to doing something. I just don't know. I just need some ideas on what to do.
Well, one of the things that we did have a couple of think tanks up in Massachusetts that was ran out of a county jail. Maybe I can put you in contact with Andrew or forget the woman's name to talk about how they did that with the turnover. And I think Norm can probably speak to the outside aspect of think tanks. Norm?
Yeah, right now our think tank's been actually pretty amazing. It's just like this, only it's about 20 people, and we meet every Friday. Our think tank has a structure every week. The first week is sort of catching up. The second week is reentry. The third week is police and community. The fourth week is writing stuff. So we all get together for that. And then we brought in Susan Stein from the Etty play, if you're familiar with that. And she's hosting we're paying her, but she's hosting a writing workshop for folks on the outside. And we meet every Monday for about an hour or 2 hours and write together like this. It's pretty amazing. So I would say if you have these folks that are on the outside, this is a great thing you could take advantage of right now.
Okay.
You're muted, Lori.
Norm, let me ask, this is Lori. I have a question for you. Of your outside folks, the outside think tank, how many are formerly incarcerated and how many are not?
If there's 20 at a meeting online, at least 5 or 6 of them are formerly outside. Only one of them, which would be Farouk, has probably ever been through an inside out class. But there's sort of folks who've been out, some of them a very long time, and are working in human services and are activists and whatever.
So this is a place to try and just get together.
Okay.
Hey, Lori, I
Thank
think
you.
this might be a good opportunity for you to talk about the Greater Food think tank. Like, what are some of the projects they've been working on, just so people know?
Sure. So, you know, the think tank started in 2002, and over the years, there are a couple of really major things that the group has done. One is holding workshops that we began doing in 2002 and have done several times a year ever since. We brought in literally thousands of people from the outside to do these kind of one and done workshops that are essentially 2 hours or so in length. And the folks who have been brought in over the years, sometimes students, sometimes community members, sometimes political people, and most recently, the group has been working with the prosecutor's office. We have a very progressive prosecutor, and he was invited to one of these workshops about 1.5 years or so ago, and liked it so much that he has made it a component of training for new prosecutors to come to one of these workshops. So obviously, you know, that's not happening now, but it has been happening consistently for many months. And then the other, of course, major thing is sorry? No. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I don't know what that noise is. And the other thing is the trainings, the international trainings. That was mentioned before. I think it was maybe Jerry who mentioned the trainings. So the Greater think tank has done quite a number. We've had 67 international trainings, and I think the Greater think tank has been involved in, I'm not sure at this point, between around 40 or so of those trainings. The theory group in Michigan has been involved in about 10, I think, or so of those trainings. And then we've had trainings in other areas, as Jerry said, in West Virginia, in Chicago. We were about to have one in Alabama, but that didn't happen. We hope to in the near future in California. Back a ways, we had a series of international trainings in Oregon. We've had them in British Columbia, in Mexico. And I would imagine I'm probably missing something, but they've been kind of all over the place, and it's very exciting. But that over the years has been also a major piece of work of the Greater think tank. So, Tyrone?
Yeah. Are there any more questions? Anybody have any questions of interest from what they've heard so far? We really want to have a discussion about some of the projects, the impacts, and what people think about some of the projects that's been going on.
Hi, this is Kevin in Arizona again. I know a few folks on here have had prisons closed where their think tanks were located. We're facing that potential looking forward. Is there any tips and advice or ways that you approach that?
And you don't mean because of the pandemic, you mean the prison closing?
Correct.
Got it.
This is Sasha, Virginia. So one of the things we try to do is get in touch with our point person and have literature distributed so that the folks have a chance to read. But it just seems like without that reciprocal conversation, it only can go so far. Yeah, so I don't know besides that.
Has anybody been able to like send information into the think tank, or you have a relationship with your liaison person? Like, how have you been able to be in contact at all?
This is Renee in Toledo. we were able to have our liaison distribute materials for a short time, but like I said, it's all been suspended. So yeah, I'm afraid there's not much news, but I just wanted to celebrate if there are prisons in Arizona closing. I think the best thing we can do, one thing we can do is celebrate. But anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there.
Nice. Okay. So is any other think tank member that joined us that hasn't talked about their think tank at all?
I have a quick question. I was wondering, one of the things that the guys were talking about in the think tank that we started was how to reach out to guys who aren't in the think tank. And they had an idea of bringing a couple, like each would bring 2 guys in for a conversation about something we're reading and sort of spread the information. I was wondering how others might deal with that in the sense of how to use the think tank in order to increase really important conversations across the facility in ways that are positive. So that's not just confined to the 12 so guys who are in the group.
This is Renee again. I just wanted to quickly say that one of the things we've done is every time we have an event like a family day or a documentary night or a workshop, we do it through the workshops by requesting that the think tank members limit their numbers and decide what kind of number that will be in that workshop, and that otherwise the seats will be reserved for non-members. And then they go and they recruit the non-members and they talk to them and they get them in. And we've also made it a regular practice to have a +1, so that every time we do an event that's not just about a meeting, we have a +1 where somebody can bring a friend. And if we do family days, which we do on a regular basis at least 2 or 3 times a year, those who do not have family that can come can always bring somebody else from the inside. So we manage in a lot of different ways to spread the wealth.
Can you explain what family days are? I've never heard of that before.
It's been one of the most popular things that our think tank's done. We do a mini inside out class where we do we usually only have about 4 hours, and we collectively, collaboratively construct an agenda, and the inside members do the vast bulk of the facilitation paired up with an outside member, so that the families come, and they come from all over the state, sometimes from other states. And they can usually have at least sometimes 6 or 7 family members. So we had a family day with 100 people in it once, with ages from like 3 years to 80 years. And so we collectively plan it, and we do an inside-out class that is sort of a mock-up of a regular inside-out class to give families a sense of what their inside members are experiencing, and to give the inside members a chance to show their families how they're facilitating. And we have a big dinner as well. That's all sort of potluck and stuff. So it's fun. It's good. It's one of the favorite things that folks do.
Interesting.
This is Becca Pickus in Michigan with the Michigan Theory Group. I just wanted to share one other way that our Theory Group members, again, our think tank members, but it's called the Theory Group, kind of spread the word. And I would say that this is one of the primary funnels through which students express interest in our Inside Out classes, is that 4 Theory Group members created their own restorative justice class. It's a full 12-week curriculum based on the Inside Out model. It has readings and assignments and activities. It really is an Inside Out class. It just is only an inside class. So it's right now 3 members of the Theory Group designed this class and now have taught it over 20 times, so 20 semesters inside the prison over just the past 5 years. So the really cool thing, or a really cool thing, there's a ton of really cool things about the class, but it's open to all the men in the facility, whereas Inside Out class is only available to level 2 guys, but level 4 guys in particular are welcome to take the restorative justice class. And I had the opportunity, they invited me to co-facilitate that course for a couple semesters, and then they have a closing ceremony at the end, like Inside Out classes, and we invite in parole board members, judges, prosecutors, reporters, but again, it's completely run by the Inside Theory Group members, and that's how a lot of other men at the facility learn about the Inside Out classes.
Nice.
This is Katie from Oregon, and first of all, those two models of the restorative justice thing and the family day both sound so incredible. So I'm in awe and want to hear more. A couple of the things that we've done to extend and expand what the think tank is able to do is one that, because we have so many different instructors, people can take multiple Inside Out classes in Oregon, and we limit the number of think tank members who can take any particular class. And so we prioritize people who have done fewer classes to make sure that there's kind of that equity spread. We want at least 2 think tank members when possible, so that we have that kind of experience in the room, but spreading that out. And then our workshops are open to everyone, and we also prioritize non-think tank members for that. We have a couple of think tank members who sign up to kind of lead and facilitate, and then no one else comes unless there's enough space. And then another thing that we've done and are expanding is working with the other inmate clubs, particularly at the maximum security prison. There's really thriving inmate-led, mostly identity-based, but not entirely. So we're working quite a lot now with the Latino Club. They've asked us to come and speak, and that's a group of 150 and many people who can't do any education while inside because they're Spanish only speaking. But then also working with the African American Club, the Asian Pacific Islander Club, and then also a little bit with Toastmasters, and that's gone really well. And so that has been a way that we've both recruited for the Inside Out classes, but then also have been, again, whether it's because of interest or language barriers or not having a high enough level to be able to actually take the classes, that people are still being able to access college and bring as much of college into the prison as we can.
Nice. I see Shaul has joined us. How you doing, Shaul?
Doing good. I'm happy to be able to make part of this meeting. Sorry to have missed the first part. We're all zooming in every different direction.
Yeah. Nice. You have anything to say, or you want to have any questions to ask, Shaul?
I just would echo the parts that I've been able to hear. One thing that we've got going on, it sounds quite like what you've all been doing at Graterford over the years. The state legislature has created a committee to look into higher education in prisons, and they are touring around to some of the different facilities. When they do that, the legislators and their staffers are setting up much of the agenda. We're doing our best to get them into the think tank, where the agenda will belong to the guys that are part of that, and that will be quite a different conversation. We've also had them, the think tank, meet with many high administrators at the university, board of trustee people, funders, and those types. And I'm sure, as is the case with everyone's think tank, everyone who comes in is blown away and leaves with enthusiasm, and that's translated into quite a bit of support for us.
Okay, Maria Grace, are you there? Maria.
Yep, I'm here. Hello?
So you have a think tank up in Cole Township, right?
At SCI Albion in
Albion.
Yes.
Excuse me, I get the prisons mixed up. We have so many.
That's okay. I'm Maria Garris. I'm a faculty member at Mercyhurst University in Erie, Pennsylvania. I co-facilitate the New Destiny think tank on restorative justice with Andrew Caswell at Gannon University. And we're a medium security male facility. We started in August of 2017. I inherited wonderful people from Norm, from SCI Pittsburgh at the time. So we started off really running with individuals that already had think tank experience and had some ideas. We have 14 members total, 1 DOC staff member who is absolutely wonderful. We have 5 outside individuals, 3 faculty members from different universities in the area, 1 juvenile probation officer, and 1 person from the district attorney's office who works with victim services. Wow. So we meet bi-weekly since 2017. We've had some major projects with juvenile probation. where we've done video conferencing with our group and high need, high risk individuals on juvenile probation. And through the video conference, we have really talked about the ripple effect of crime and criminality, and they've gone over very, very well. Both the participants from juvenile probation enjoyed it, as well as the members of the think tank. We've done 2 symposiums that were very well attended on trauma-informed care, as well as post-traumatic strength development and focusing on that strength development aspect. So not only were the other incarcerated individuals at Albion invited, but also social service providers received continuing education credits for it as well. So there was probably, I think the chapel holds 300 and we might have had 300 people there. It was very well attended. And then we started a newsletter. So the individuals wanted to kind of share their story and share some of their strengths and motivation and hope. And that's kind of where we are now with that, hopefully being readied for approval to go out to the institution. So we've been doing pretty good. The guys have a ton of ideas that we just try to see what works best and see what the institution is willing to approve and move forward. And like I said, for us, we've really been blessed with having just a very responsive individual who, you know, is ready to do what we would like them to do as long as it's, you know, reasonable.
Maria, you actually made us have to call on you with all that great information, really?
Well.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
Thanks.
Does anybody have any questions? Any other think tank coordinator on here that is withholding great information that they don't want to share? Please share it now.
Tyrone, you know Malachi, so you know how bad Maria was being by not telling us what was up.
Right. Got to give Norm his props for a great job he did while he's in Pittsburgh prison.
This is Carl Malewski. I'm at teach at Bucknell, and we're in SCI Cole Township, where I don't know if you other people have had this experience. Our think tank was organized by the guys inside, and it's partly that the superintendent at Cole Township came over from Muncie, where he'd worked with the Inside Out, Bucknell's Inside Out program over there, which is the women's prison nearby. Cole Township is a medium security men's prison with about 2,400 guys. I would say, I think there's an underground network to Graterford. A number of our guys know about a lot of the programs there and have taken the initiative. They're the ones who had the idea of doing Inside Out class. One of the guys there wrote letters to 62 professors at different universities, and I was the only one silly enough to write back. And so I've been doing this for about 3 years. I think the thing, as somebody else said, everybody who comes in gets blown away by this group of guys. One of the things that's most striking about them is they've started a charity inside the prison. Part of the thing they recruited us to do was to help them make connection with low-income communities nearby, and they make pretty substantial gifts. You know, we work with a community in Mount Carmel that does a camp for high-risk kids, and they've given them $4,000, which has really energized the camp and made it possible. As they do fundraising on a variety of fronts, they're very politically self-conscious. Part of their self-awareness is to try to affect legislation in the state of Pennsylvania, and so they're always encouraging us to go out to rallies and things like that. We've had a number of community people come in and participate in the think tank and join, particularly the head of our United Way. Really was so impressed that she started a reading group with the men inside, and now she is organizing an ACEs conference. She's working with training the men to do ACEs counseling and training the staff to do ACEs counseling, and is planning an ACEs conference at Bloomsburg University that'll happen October 2nd, where we're aiming to bring the think tank guys in via Zoom. And one of the things we did was we have a student at Bucknell who's been very active and very effective. One of the things we did was we submitted a paper to the conference at San Quentin Prison, which got accepted, but now they want us to present it at Bloomsburg, and we'll be working with the Inside guys to do that. I think in terms of the Zoom, we've talked to our local superintendent. Apparently this is a state decision because they've been doing visiting via Zoom at Cole Township, and so they have the capacity to do it, and the superintendent is willing to try if the state approves it. So if we can't get in there, we'll work on doing that. And one of the things I don't know, we got involved in a program through Central Pennsylvania for colleges and prisons to create an educational consortium. Reem was one of the people who was important as part of that. So he was a big loss when he died. One of the things that that group has been wanting to do is expand college credit classes inside. And so we've been working at Bucknell so that our inside out class is a credit bearing class. We got blown out of the water by the COVID, but there's, I don't know, it's a very active inside group. And we've done some research, we've worked with the IRB, we've done those kinds of things. And we, it's great to hear other people are doing research inside with the guys on the inside as the surveyors, because that's one of the things we started doing in the class this semester, which was really interesting because the guys who were doing the surveys had no idea what they were doing. The guys who were asking had no idea what was being asked of them. And the reflection on that whole activity was incredibly productive. So our group now we're planning to do a project on prison health in the class this fall. And the inside guys, we can communicate with the inside guys quite a bit via Connect Network. And so a couple of the guys who are going to be working as TAs in our group have come up with an outline of a study of health inside the prison. And they've got ideas about how Bucknell students and inside guys can work together on researching a number of different topics and aspects. And sort of anybody who knows, has good information about research on health in prison could help out. Lori, that link to the webinar with Bernie Sanders and that woman from North Carolina who's done quite a bit of work and seems very impressive. But we went to an Urban Institute conference in spring where there was a disability in prison advocate, and I'd like to track her down. So disability in prison is a big issue. Our superintendent is very supportive of our doing this work, but there are lots of things you would like to do research on in terms of health in prison. So I don't know. I mean, I think he'll be supportive of us, but we may not exactly like the results we get. So
Thank you so much, Matt. Hey, I would like to go right and turn back to Kim real quick to talk a little bit about some of the things you said initially about the difficult issues that you had to deal with.
Yeah. Well, one of the difficult issues is keeping outside students coming to the think tanks. That's always a challenge. I find it challenging too because I feel like I'm always pushed in a political sense, and that's just not my cup of tea. And I don't I don't want to get involved politically, and I don't want to be lobbying. And so I get kind of it happens in a way that I don't even realize at first. But people are they have grievances, they have complaints, and so I feel that a little pushed in the direction of I don't know, sending letters to the warden about people not being able to go to funerals outside, grievances about visiting hours being curtailed, all kinds of things. And so I don't know, that's just something that I try to watch out for and to steer clear, because I want to have, there's a kind of mission involved in the think tanks that I run, and I want to stick to that kind of mission, but I feel always pushed in different directions. Another thing that happens is, when doing these projects, it turns out that I have to do a lot of the work. Typing, for instance, or research, or putting things together, proofreading for publications, even within the, prison, like a newsletter we've done. And so you get kind of inundated by a lot of work that might turn out to be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those are just some of the things that I just thought people should look out for or be aware of. Just these are problems that I've run into.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Lori, you want to respond to the advocacy aspect?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the whole thing of grievances, that's not a place where we can go. Really, it's not appropriate. And, I know from having met the guys and worked with them, I know kind of who you're talking about. And, they can be very insistent. And I get that people really want and need support. That is not our role. And I know that you're very clear on that. And I know that it's hard to, because that pressure is coming at you. But that's a very clear line in my mind, because it has to do with how the prison is operating. And we just can't get involved in that,
Okay, so we have about, go ahead, Lori.
Let me just say one other thing. I think the thing about keeping outside folks engaged, I think that's probably difficult for lots of groups. Ideally, we like to have even-ish numbers, but that often is not the case. And so, I think we just do the best that we can. Go ahead, Tyrone.
No, I'm saying we have about a few minutes left. If anybody have any last questions they want to ask, it's the time is to do it now. If
I have
there's,
a quick question.
go ahead.
This is Shauna. So those who have outside think tanks, can you share a little bit about how those work? Was there anyone on this call who had that, who created an outside think tank?
Well, I think Norm is the only person, only one.
Yeah.
Norm, you got anything to add to that?
I got your shoes.
I think, hey, Norm, I think that you should go a little more detail about why you started the outside think tank. I don't think people are really clear on that.
It's funny because, when our think tank really exploded and became something great, they decided to close the prison. And some of you know Maggie McGannon. She's been through the training. She was part of the Great Effort think tank when she was a student. I was ready to sleep in on Friday mornings. And her and a few folks just started coming to campus and having meetings. And after a few weeks, it's like, maybe I should go to this. And now, our think tank was 5 or 6 guys doing life and me in one room in the prison for a long time. Now it's 20 and 30 people in a room at Duquesne. And we continued it because, like I said, the prison was closed, and all of us on the outside certainly felt that ripped away part of us. And we were really starting to get some good traction, and we've gotten even better traction since. So what happens is it's less inside-outy than it normally would be. But you get these folks that have been incarcerated, but you get all kind of activists. All the major local politicians have come through our room, and there's artists, and it's just an
really eclectic mix, as they say.
Yeah,
eclectic mix, as Tyrone says. And,
Norm, do you have what is the kind of particular mission of that group?
Good Lord, I don't know. To survive. No, our mission is, we do a lot with reentry. We do a lot, this very Pittsburgh focused. Our guys, like the guys who have been in prison most recently usually, and actually all the guys are they're taking classes on campus as students now. But I think all of them almost, other than the ones that already have master's degrees. So our mission is
reentry and police and community, and I don't know, maybe that should be what we do this week, is remind me what the mission is.
Can you tell the group just very briefly about the COPS program?
Right. So I've been studying police training and socialization for over 20 years now. And when I went through when I was an ethnographer doing that kind of work, sitting in these police academies, and it's like high school with guns and worse. And then I went to the Inside Out training. Like, this is the opposite of the police academy. And it didn't click exactly right away, but after a couple years, I got the idea that this should be part of the police academy. So in a mere 7 years, I was able to create that. And so now we put every police recruit in Pittsburgh through a 5-week version. It's really more than 5 weeks, but 5 weeks in the prison with the guys version of Inside Out. And we were on track to have the whole department trained in 5 to 10 years. And Friday would have been the start of the next cohort, and it really hurt.
Yeah. And the thing that I often think about when I think about that program is that this is not something that people should try at home.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's really Inside Out. It's a little tweaked for this, but it's Inside Out. It's the process. And if you can relate to guys in prison, and you can relate to people that wanted to be cops, who are, by the way, much more fragile, and I can tell you stories, but you got to really be careful not to offend them. And but if you can relate to them and love them, like I absolutely love cops. I spent a long time with cops. I love guys in prison. I love cops. I could have been either one, and here I am now with both of them.
But the reason that I say that is based on precisely what you just said. I think that it would be dangerous for somebody to try to do this. I mean, we always talk about how fragile Inside Out is to begin with. That takes the fragility to a much higher level. If, like, I would not try to do that. I don't know the first thing about, police culture. And I feel like I really would need to know that. So that's the one warning label I would put around that program. Having said that, I would love for us some way or another to expand that program, like to figure out how to expand it very carefully through our network.
That's definitely one of the ideas. It's gotten some decent press because Farouk, Robert Weidman from the book Brothers and Keepers, he's one of my main accomplices in this. This is Esme.
Hey!
See, he was recently commuted, so that became a national story, and the police training Inside Out was picked up by the AP. So I've gotten, like, San Francisco, I don't know if we know anyone or anyone's in San Francisco, they were interested in it. A couple other places were interested in it. So there's a real potential to eventually do this, but it's going to take a lot of work. I see in the comments people want to hear more. There's articles I've written that we can post, so that'll be there for you.
That'd be great.
But also we can get back together and discuss a little more detail of different things. We definitely going to schedule more conversations like this. I just want to reach out to other staff that's on the call. If they have anything they'd like to say or any questions they'd like to ask, like Dave, Eileen, Ann, and John.
Just a real quick announcement. There's a number of resources that were mentioned as far as articles, academic research articles. We have an online resource community. It was originally we hosted on a Temple University Canvas website. We're transitioning to a new Squarespace website with just a simple login. And all of those resources are there. We'll be sending out the link within the next week or two. And you can have access to those resources and other resources. So please stay tuned for more on that.
Well, and I want to clarify more about that. Anybody who got frustrated trying to get on Canvas, this is going to be oh so much easier. So that's important to know.
And Eileen, real quick. And Eileen, okay.
Well, Tyrone, you did such a wonderful job. No one has nothing to say. You know? Yeah. Other
Well, I
than
didn't ask you. I'm quite sure you have something to say. Let everybody see your pretty face.
No. I think obviously there's so much more that we could have learned, and so hopefully, you know, this is just the beginning of this level of conversation.
Great.
I have one kind of final question. This is going to sound like it's from out there, but Brenda, what is the design that's behind you? Can you tell us about it?
Sure. My guys, I teach a social justice and advocacy course at Widener University. I should move my head. And actually one of our assignments is a creative self-expression. So it's kind of what's so for you, what have you learned about yourself in this course? And this was one of our inside guys, and it's a stethoscope on the one side and then cuffs on the other side, and it says stay woke. And it's the different aspects of social justice and the things we talked about, privilege and oppression. It's like water that ends up going into an ocean. He really described it much more eloquently than I could, but they do some phenomenal artwork and just really stepping through that piece of really seeing each other and shared humanity. So a lot of what we talk about is that piece, because my students are nursing students. So we bring them in, and our hope is that they will then take this out into the healthcare setting, so that when folks that are incarcerated are in the healthcare setting, they're not treated like, they're treated like human beings. So, and I'm hearing a lot from the work that my students do that it is translating through. We're actually going to pull together an alumni group of our nursing students to see what's going on in healthcare. So that's kind of where we're hoping to head. Thank you for asking, Lori. The guys are just amazing.
Is there any way you can share that with us?
Sure. Yeah. In fact, I have another one from the year before that was really beautiful. Someone wrote a poem and did another thing, and we've put them on our closing programs. But sure, I'll get together some of the artwork from the guys and share that with you. Yeah.
And would it be something that, I know that you probably can't get their permission now, but we could put on the website?
I actually did ask them prior to, because I wanted to share it everywhere because I thought it was so phenomenal. So they were very willing to say, do whatever you want with it. They want it out there.
Beautiful. That is gorgeous.
Yeah, thank you.
Tyrone, you want to take us home?
Yeah, so just a couple more things. First of all, Matt, I want to ask this question. Is there anybody out there who created a think tank that the Center doesn't know about? Because I just learned about Matt's think tank a couple weeks ago when we zoomed into his class. So if anyone starts a think tank, please notify the Center, let us know so we can get all the details. We like to keep the data on what's going on around the world with all the think tanks. And lastly, if there's no other questions, no one else have anything to say, I want to say thank you so much for joining this call. It's been very, very wonderful and powerful. I think people got a lot out of the discussion, learning about the amazing project that people are doing, not just here in this country, but all around the world where we have think tanks. It's been really, really amazing. I'm going to let you know now that we want to do this again. But basically, I really want to do it with, get together with all the other, just the think tank coordinators to have a discussion so we can network and share projects and maybe put groups of guys in contact with one another through ways of just sharing information so that the guys inside would know exactly what other think tanks like them are doing around the world, okay? So we want to do that kind of networking. And if there's nobody have anything else to say?
I think we need to stop.
On that note,
go Birds.
That's what I'm talking about. And go, I don't know what to say about the Steelers.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Dave's going to make this available, the chat, right? Dave, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'll make the chat and the video available to everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.